everything woke turns to shit, okay?
Welcome to No More Bullshit.
Hey folks, so I guess the appropriate way to start this video is what the fuck just happened, right? What should have happened is what I said in my previous video based on historical trends. And so you got to ask, why? And it's a multitude of things, and because this election was so weird, first of all, it bucked every historical trend of what happens in midterms. And there's a variety of reasons for this. From what I've been able to find out since, from, kind of watching people that know more about shit than, about this shit than I do. So, say in Michigan, okay? My understanding, I didn't realize this until last couple hours when I saw it somewhere on YouTube, but that Michigan, for the first time in decades, has Democrats have total control. Well, I guess that's one of the easier ones to figure out. It's the only way Whitmer could have pulled it out, and all of that is Democrats showed up. Well, why Democrats show up? Well, because they're fucking stupid and would rather shoot themselves in their own dick. It's looking like in places where Democrats showed up in bigger numbers like that the abortion issue was a bigger deal. That did motivate them to come out, and who knows? These people are fucking emotional creatures. Maybe the fucking Biden crap about democracy being on the line. Who knows? But the only way I can account for, beyond Whitmer, the whole state of Michigan going to Democrat for the House, the state stuff, is that it's got to be the abortion thing for that. Now, there's a broader, more devious, let me back up for a second, finish up on Michigan. The chick running for governor is a Republican. I got to give some blame to Trump. He should have given her money from his PAC. And he should have done that with some other people like Mastriano in Pennsylvania. One of the reasons Mastriano lost, in fact, probably the biggest reason, is the RNC didn't give him any cash, didn't back him at all, and he couldn't advertise in the bigger markets at all, and that's where he lost his ass. And Trump didn't help him, and Trump should have helped him. So Trump fucked up. All right, that's plain and simple fact. Trump fucked up. Or at least the people running his PAC fucked up. But knowing Trump, nothing goes out unless Trump says it's okay. So Trump fucked up. All right. So let's forget about Michigan. Sorry about that, Michigan folks, but it is what it is. You guys live there. You guys know better than I do how fucked up that state is now. I can just say I'm glad I don't live there anymore, and I don't plan on going back to visit, even though I still got relatives there. The bigger, darker deal I've discovered over the last 24 hours is that apparently, now I never did like Kevin McCarthy. And I never did like Mitch McConnell. Ever. I mean, for a long time. Ever. And they're part of the swamp problem. Okay, so pollster guy was telling a story about he had been working for congressional candidate Bud out in I think he's somewhere around Grand Rapids or something, and in the primary. Well, once he and apparently during that time, the RNC, Kevin McCarthy, none of them contacted this guy at all. Well, he pulls out the primary. So now they get a hold of him and they say, well, if you want money from us, you got to fire your team and use ours. Use our people. So, he's between a rock and a hard place, so he lets his people go. Now, apparently in the background, he was still communicating with Rich Barris, the pollster guy. And the establishment dickheads were giving him bad advice. And that's what happened. And they're generally their advice is run away from Trump. They tried to get the suburban white women vote back. Well, to do that, they basically bailed on the Trump message to the the blue collar worker, the working man, which is what got Trump in the first place, and what is Trump's base. Well, basically they didn't lose him back to the Democrats, but they just didn't come out and vote. Well, unfortunately for the idiots that followed this advice, there wasn't enough white suburban women vote that they attracted with that shit to make up the difference. And why you would want to attract a group of voters, no offense, ladies, but it's unreliable vote. It's like every fucking election it's like being in a bad fucking marriage. Every election they go they say they want one thing, and then they go another way the next time. Then they come back this time because they fuck it up that time. So that's the general gist of what happened last night. I got to ask Lou from the group. I mean, I got no explanation. Well, I do have a little bit of an explanation for this one, but the fuck, dude? How the fuck does Pennsylvania elect a guy who can't fucking form a sentence and who has literal brain damage that ain't going to get any better? I mean, Uncle Festerman, he's like a combination between Lurch and well, actually, the way he talks, even though it's a deeper voice, is almost like Cousin It. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, man. So, but, okay, Oz was not the greatest candidate, plain and simple. He had name recognition because of his background, like being somewhat of a minor celebrity, but the carpetbagger thing didn't help him out, which is, I'm suspicious of people that move to a state and then immediately run for something. I mean, the Hillary Clintons of the world who never lived in New York, but all of a sudden they moved to New York so she can run for Senate. Things like that. Okay. So that didn't help him. He's not a dynamic personality. He's got no charisma. He should have wiped up the floor with Fetterman in that debate. I mean, you had him where you knew damn well, I don't care if it looks cruel or not. You're there to take no prisoners. All right? He should have forced him and raised the stress level in the debate. There's ways you could have done it without looking like you're attacking him directly, and exploit the fact that the guy fucking can't think. Instead, nothing. So anyway, I don't get that one. I get the Mastriano one because Mastriano got no money from the RNC, got no money from the congressional people and all of that. Got no money from Trump, which he should have. That's another one Trump fucked up. Now, in Arizona, there's some silver linings, okay? I mean, I don't need to go on and on about every different situation. Uh, there's some silver linings. Obviously, Florida, big silver lining. New York, even though Zeldin didn't win the governorship, he came within like 4 points so far. I mean, they're still counting, but he came within like 4 points. So it dragged a bunch of people across, just like I said it would. So you got a bunch, like 4 or 5 seats there that got flipped because of him out on Long Island, where he's from, and so that's a plus. Now, will the Democrats in New York learn from this? No. The woman's a nutcase. You know, my mother complains about it to me, like New York and that. And I'm like, hey, man, you chose to live there. You know, after she retired, she could have lived anywhere, but she chose to stay there. So that's a plus. Obviously, Florida's a big plus. I mean, DeSantis won by almost 20 points. He even beat Charlie Crist in his home district that he's currently representing today, and that got flipped. The Republican woman that was running against them there won, so that's good. It's quite clear that Republicans are, fully in charge in Florida. So that's a good omen for the 2024 election, because that's what 29-30 votes in the bank electorally. Now, as long as they don't fuck it up, because basically what happened in this election is the Republicans never. What's the old saying? Never underestimate the Republicans' ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. That's what happened in this election. It's not Trump's fault. It's not what Trump did. It's not the Trump-based candidates. There's the underlying deep state hierarchy within the Republican Party, the Kevin McCarthy's, the Mitch McConnells, even the Ronna McDaniels, even though I know Trump talks her up all the time and appointed her to that, but she's right there with them. And one thing I've noticed about these people is once they get into a position of power, it corrupts them. Let's not forget that Ronna McDaniel is a Romney. All right, so that should tell you something right there. But anyway, okay, in Arizona, they aren't going to be even dropping the election day. What happened there, because of the stupid laws there, is people got mailed these ballots. Well, what a lot of Republicans apparently did was they filled out the mail-in ballot, but they went them in person and dropped it off on election day instead of going in and standing in line and voting. So what happens is, instead of their votes getting counted on election night, they aren't even going to be counting those until probably Friday. And that was majority of those that were dropped off on election day are going to be Republican, and there were 200, just in Maricopa County alone, there were 275,000 of those. So Kerry Lake and Blake Masters, Kerry Lake for sure is going to win. Blake Masters is probably going to be able to pull it out based on the math of it, by less than what Kerry Lake is going to win by, but he's still going to pull it out. In Nevada, unless some fuckery happens, it looks like they're going to win the governorship and the Senate seat. So right there, we got the majority in the Senate. Historically, and I hesitate to talk about that in this election anymore, but in Georgia, if the incumbent doesn't win outright in the general election and they have to do a runoff like they do this time, they lose. So, and plain and simple fact is there was a third-party candidate that got like a little over 2% of the vote, and that vote got pulled from Herschel Walker. So, now the other thing that'll help Walker is These other two races in Nevada and Arizona will be decided by then, and there already should be a majority, theoretically, in the Senate, so that it's not as high profile like it was last time. In other words, the control of the Senate will already be decided, so the motivation on the Democrats' side to pull off some kind of goofery in Georgia is not going to work. Now, let's talk about in Oregon, the woman, the Republican running for governor there, is still in it. They dropped some some early vote again today, so she lost a little ground, but not much. And there's still a bunch of vote out where she's strong. So she's still got a shot. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It's governor of Oregon, so what the fuck do I care? But just a side note. So here's the kind of intangible pluses. Nancy Pelosi, history. You know, she won a race, but she's going to... she's been, you know, the scuttlebutt is that she's going to try to get some kind of ambassadorship to Italy or some fucking thing. So, I mean, she's not going to stay as just a regular, you know, I don't think she could win leadership anyway. The deals she made, supposedly, but she, you know, of course, she's not one to follow deals, was that she wouldn't try to maintain power after this time. So she'll watch for her to resign. Doesn't change the House numbers. It just gets rid of her from our lives. Beta O'Rourke, congratulations. You've lost 3 major races in the last 4 years. So hopefully he's out of our lives. Stacey Abrams, I would say she's probably not out of the lives. She's probably going to get a job at fucking MSNBC, but she's not. We're not going to have to deal with her on a political level anymore. Her political career should be over by now because she not only lost, but she got trounced. Who else? The head of in New York, the guy from New York that was head of it was the head of the DNC or the head of the DCCC, whatever. I think it was the chairman of the Democratic Congressional Committee for Re-election or some fucking thing. He lost his race, so he's out. What else? J.D. Vance in Ohio won by almost the same margin as Trump did in both elections. So that's a get, because he'll probably be around for a long time. He's a younger guy. Now, I don't know what he's going to govern like, but he's a vote to me, so, you know, one less evil. John James in Michigan finally won something, and great candidate. I can't figure out. That's another reason why I'm glad I don't live in Michigan. The fact that they can't figure out they got a great candidate. They're voters, apparently, and so he ended up winning a congressional seat. Especially the way it went in Michigan, that's a feat. So I think the problem with him is he probably should have started there to begin with as a congressional candidate instead of trying to run for big office first, because nobody knew who the fuck he was. Or if they did, he was a business guy. He's not like a fucking, you know. So it's not all bad news, okay? Is it as good as we'd like? Obviously not. I'm telling you, Kevin McCarthy needs to go. And apparently the scuttlebutt is in the background, especially the Republicans from California in the House are pissed because they know what he did. So you got to give Liz Cheney one thing, which she said, I think a week or two ago, that you can count on Kevin McCarthy to do when given the choice of doing the right thing or doing what's in his best interest, that he'll always do what's in his best interest. I've never liked that cocksucker, and I'm never gonna like that cocksucker. And with him in charge, I mean, this stupid contract with America thing 2.0 that he's doing, it was ridiculous. It's doomed to failure. Number one. Number two, it pulls out tactics from the 90s. It has no chance of becoming law. Nothing they do will get signed into law by Joe Biden. And it's probably not going to be able to pass the Senate because the Republicans won't get rid of the filibuster. So they just won't vote on it. They'll hang it up with the filibuster, the Democrats. It's got, no matter what they pass, is going to fail ultimately. Whenever I see that, well, we passed that in the House. Okay, so you wasted time on something that, and the Democrats do this too, they waste time on stuff so they can say they passed it, and they know damn well when they start it up that it's not going to ever have a chance in hell of becoming law. It's one of the problems of how the government functions. Why waste time? If I was running things, I'd be like, does it have a chance? Have you talked to the Senate? And if they tried to give me some horse shit, I'd be like, it has no chance in hell of ever passing and being signed into law. So we aren't going to spend any time on it. So what you're going to end up with, they'll do a couple of those like show votes things. They'll hold votes on their little fucking contract with America 2.0, and they'll pass stuff, and it will go nowhere. And the rest of the time, it's going to be useless congressional investigations into Hunter Biden, useless congressional investigations into this and that. The reason I say useless is because nothing ever becomes of it. Of all of the committee type investigations in my lifetime, there's been the Watergate investigation from the I believe the Senate back in the 70s, and then there's the Iran-Contra thing in the 80s, and that's it. That's it. Every other fucking committee goes nowhere. And the impeachment thing. You're not going to get a conviction in the Senate. So why do it? That's the thing with the House thing. It's like when they did it to Trump twice. Like, you're not going to get a conviction. Why are you doing this? It's ridiculous. First of all, the second one was unconstitutional, but regardless, that was purely like just to try to muck up and make Trump spend time on stuff instead of doing what he was doing. So I don't care about any of that stuff. It doesn't matter to me. The only thing that this buys us is the same thing taking the House in 2010 bought us, which is it stops Biden's agenda. He will still try to do stuff with executive orders, but they'll all get challenged. Most of them will get thrown out, and that'll be that. It's a stopgap to just. You might as well just not pay attention to anything for the next 2 years until we start getting close to the presidential election in 2024. That's what I'm going to do. It's what I did the last time. It's like once Biden won, I just went and lived my life because I knew he was going to fuck things up. I didn't think they would be even this bad, but I knew he was going to fuck things up because he's not a bright man, and he's made wrong decisions his entire life. And I just choose not to be irritated daily because in the long run, in general, it's not going to affect me. Well, it did affect me because his policies have driven prices up so much. Quite honestly, I figured he'd be gone by now. So, like would have resigned or been taken out of office because of his inability to perform. I figured we'd have Harris by now, which wouldn't be any better. But it'll limit the damage. So, and the other, by the way, I knew there was something I was forgetting as far as a silver lining. This one isn't necessarily a silver lining, it's a potential silver lining, is that if it holds, and it depends on who, in Alaska, they changed to this stupid ranked choice voting, and pretty steadily, Lisa Murkowski is running behind the other Republican. It's going to be a Republican seat regardless. It's just a matter of whether it's Murkowski or this other woman. And the other woman's been leading by about a couple of points. I think it's like 4,000 votes or something in that range. They're at about 70, or I think 77% or something like that in. What's taken so fucking long, I have no idea. Unless they got to sled the fucking votes somewhere. The way it works now is like once, like the top two, after they're done counting votes, you vote for your second choice, your third choice, and so on in ranked choice voting. Well, it depends on who people on the people that have to drop off the race because they didn't get enough votes to be in the top two. Now, who did these people vote for as a second choice? So that's going to depend on whether Murkowski is history or not, but it's a potential silver lining that at least we get rid of that stupid bitch. So, now I don't know what this other person's going to be like, but she can't be any worse than that one. So anyway, that's it. That's all I got. I saw some comment in the group about, Trump shouldn't run and all that stuff. I'm not going to say whether he should run, shouldn't run. He's going to run. I think it's more likely after yesterday that he's challenged. I think if things had come out the way they were supposed to, he'd be running unopposed if he runs. But I think that there's been people whispering in DeSantis' ear for quite a while now to like he should run, and I think up until he blew out things yesterday, I don't think he was going to do it, and I think it's more likely that he might. I saw a thing yesterday, too, that maybe Larry Elder's thinking about it. I saw something where Trump can't win. Oh, that's bullshit. Okay, that's not what happened yesterday. Blue-collar workers, they did not inspire them to come out. Trump will inspire them to come out. Okay, that's what happened in the election on the Republican side yesterday. That combined with the fact that more Democrats showed up than probably would have, except for the abortion issue and perhaps the false crap about the whole, democracy is on the ballot crap, which apparently was somewhat effective amongst the Democrats. So, and it's also obvious from what happened in Pennsylvania that they'll elect anybody. Anybody who says they're a Democrat, doesn't matter if you're brain damaged, we'll take you. As long as you're spewing out the shit we want to hear. So, anyway, till next time.